All right, and welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I am Treacherous Trista.
We're joined by the people here of Bleed with Me. We have writer and director Amelia Moses.
Hi.
Hello, Rowan Lee Marshall.
Hi, I'm so pumped up from that intro. That
Oh,
song.
thank
No
you.
kidding.
Please,
Let's go.
Yeah, the Tomb of Nick Cage. Thank you out there for doing the theme for us. And Emily Lauren Beatty.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Very good to have you all here.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
Before we get too far into it, for people who haven't seen Bleed with Me yet, could you give them an idea of what it's about?
Yeah, so it's about a kind of awkward young woman who goes for kind of cabin getaway with her friend and her friend's boyfriend. And throughout her time there, she experiences these strange sleep paralysis incidents and wakes up with cuts on her arms. And she becomes convinced that her friend is stealing her blood. And I like to describe it as like a descent into madness film.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Was there an inspiration to write the movie?
It's an autobiography.
Yeah, I had gone through similar things myself, so I just really wanted to bring that to the screen.
Which character?
Everyone.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I guess I really wanted to kind of explore a film from a single perspective because it was kind of about how we can kind of skew narratives and project narratives onto other people. And usually it's kind of in a positive way, like, you know, that person has a better life, they're happier, you know, all that kind of stuff. But instead, it kind of shifts in this film to like the main character projecting a much more twisted narrative onto her friend. So I knew I wanted it to be really kind of from Rowan's perspective and focus on this female friendship. And then the bloodletting stuff just kind of fell into place. I don't know where that came from, to be honest. I think there was just it seemed like a kind of intimate but disturbing act that kind of kind of worked well with the themes and stuff, and you know, still drawing from some kind of vampiric and horror imagery and stuff without being too grounded in those tropes.
I saw Lee worked on Undress Me, your short beforehand, so I assume that's how you met. And did you have her in mind when you were writing it?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, Lee and I met when she auditioned for Undress Me, and then she played the lead in that, and we just really got along.
Yeah, we just hate working together. We love working together.
And so I totally going into my first feature, I was very much had her in mind for the lead character, and I knew that it was going to be good for me too to work with an actor I'd worked with before, and it's a pretty intense role, and so kind of doing that short, which was also pretty intense and much more on the kind of prosthetic side of things, but this one was very emotional. So I knew Lee could bring it.
and Lee likes to get bloody for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think both me and Lauren have a strange fetish of just covering ourselves in blood for Amelia. That's new friendship for you. Yeah, I mean, like I've said before, and I'll say again, like you don't work on a project like this unless you really trust the director behind it. And so, you know, if I had been going on to set to do this story for somebody else, I might not have showed up because I would have been really nervous about how it would go. But I came to set super confident in my safety and security and the feeling that we could really have fun and create and explore on set together, because there was that really strong trust already there before we even started shooting.
What interested you in the role, Lauren?
Several things. I mean, I just loved the script. I loved this story that, you know, didn't give you everything right away and that really made you think and come up with your own decisions about things. I also just was very excited to work with Amelia and Lee because I had helped out with the teaser that Amelia shot for this to get the grant, and that's when I met Lee as well, and we had so much fun that one night just shooting the teaser that when Amelia came to me a couple of years later and was like, I have the full script, do you want to play Emily? And I knew Lee was attached to it still. I was just 100% in. And then also, like we're talking about, just exploring this really messed up friendship dynamic between two women that I hadn't seen a lot before. And just like being able to play this character that's portrayed as sinister. I had never had that opportunity before. So a lot of things.
Yeah, you do a great job. Everyone does
you.
a great job. Yeah. Trista, you have a question?
I love this film. I'm a huge fan of this film, but I definitely was cold watching it. Were you guys cold while you were making it?
I agree with that 100%, yeah.
Yes, we were cold while
Yeah.
shooting it. Yeah.
Yeah, the funniest part of it all was that our amazing production designer, Steph Urbano, thought it would be really fun to give us like costume coats as our winter outfit. So I was
style
like
over like,
yeah.
actual.
It was like a corduroy jacket that was rented from a theater. So it was really designed to be worn inside under theater lights. And I wore that in -20 Celsius and lower. And I think, Lauren, you were in a pretty similar position.
Yeah.
Did you layer? I layered. Like I did have some like, some like thermal silk underneath
I think
there.
I had those like, those sticky heating pads. I just had like 20 just like stuck all over my body.
They should make vests, just like heated vests that you can wear underneath.
Yeah, we were shooting like end of January, early February, and like 2 hours north of Montreal. So Quebec can get really, really cold in the winter. And there was just so much snow too, because there was so much buildup from the winter. So we also had a snowstorm at one point, which ends up being the end of the film, which we just kind of lucked out that we shot that scene and there was this crazy storm. But then later that night we had to stop shooting because we were worried about getting the cast and crew back to where they were staying, because it was the middle of the night and no one was plowing the roads and there was so much snow. I've never seen that much snow in my entire life. So.
I think they said it was the most snow they'd had in 20 years.
Oh yeah, well,
that
makes sense.
Yeah.
It was a lot of snow. I definitely felt like I was in the movie sometimes. Like even when even when the camera wasn't rolling, I was like, is this real? Like, are we experiencing this for real? But
Is she stealing my blood for real?
Yeah.
I'll never tell.
No, I wasn't worried about that. I was worried that I take some,
Thanks for clarifying.
I trusted Lauren, but I didn't trust my own memory, because like I knew that there was like fake pills and then there was like real pills, and I was convinced at a certain point that I had swapped them and I was taking the wrong one. So yeah, that was like a moment of like a real mania. On the set,
just like the jackets, you
myself.
had fake jackets and fake pills.
Yeah.
But as Trista said, it does make you feel cold watching it. I thought the whole look of the movie was really well done, and I like the lighting in some of the scenes with like the natural lighting from the fireplace. Was that the real fireplace going? Because that's what it looked like.
I think we only had an actual fire for one scene because it's not ideal for sound to have a fire going.
I was going to mention, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a scene where you saw it because I was like, we have to see the fire at some point. But most of the time we were using a shadow maker, which is basically like a bunch of light bulbs kind of all clustered together and they're flickering at different rates. So it kind of gives that effect. And sometimes I feel like it was a bit of a placebo effect, like for the cast and crew in the cabin as well. Because we're like, oh, the fire is on. They're like, no, that's just some lighting.
Just light bulbs.
Yeah. But it had the right feel.
It did make you feel warm. It was weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fake fire and fake jackets.
You guys were just losing your minds the whole shoot.
So, we mentioned Fantasia Fest before we went live. That was the premiere. Since it was virtual this year, what was the experience like?
At first it was a pretty hard pill to swallow. Not to relate it to the film, but I feel like, part of it's my first film, like it's my first feature. And so much of the time as a filmmaker, you're just really aiming for that, like, world premiere spot, regardless of what festival you're at or whatever, but just to be in a room with an audience, in a dark room with a big screen and the sound and everything, like that's just such a big part of the experience. And so I was definitely very, a bit torn up about that when I realized that wasn't going to happen. But obviously Fantasia made 100% the right choice and it was what needed to happen. And I think all the festivals that we've been a part of so far have like pivoted really well and have done a lot to still create like a good online experience. So I think I'm sure it's been tough for festivals too, but I think they're doing a lot to still make them happen. Like even just like, we're still going to do it this year, I think, says a lot about keeping people entertained and keeping like, engaged and, people engaged. But it's definitely a different experience than I was hoping for.
Right.
It's funny, like I don't have another year to compare it to, so I can't say this is what it's like to come out with a feature film when it's not a pandemic. That's like this is our baseline.
Yeah.
But I've been so thrilled. I think all of us have been a little blown away by how engaged people have been with the film and how much positive feedback we've gotten. Like we're so thankful that people are watching it, even though they can't go to the theater to watch it yet. Not quite yet, so like there, I'm definitely looking at the silver lining of it, which is that more people maybe get to see it because things are virtual, and so they don't actually have to leave their house or travel to make a premiere.
Yeah, you can't dwell on the sadness too long, otherwise it's very depressing. You have to try and think about the positives that come out of it, and I think everyone would agree that it's, having your friends and family all over the place be able to actually attend, the premieres and see this film much before they probably would have seen it otherwise. So there's some silver linings.
You mentioned friends and family. I'm always interested about your friends and family. Were they supportive in you doing horror movies?
For me, 100% yes. Like my parents would probably be mad if I didn't make horror movies. Yeah, both my dad especially is a really big horror fan, so I grew up watching a lot of horror films, and so I think that they're both my parents are very supportive of filmmaking endeavors.
Yeah, my parents are very supportive, but a lot of my friends and family are complete scaredy cats when it comes to the theater going experiences. So I think it's a bit hard for them to really support me. Like they'll buy the tickets and they'll show up, but they might have their hands over their eyes for most of the film. So thanks for trying,
Yeah, my parents both they both like horror, I would say. My mom has seen this movie like 6 times already. She's obsessed with it. But I think it's more so my friends, and even my partner has a hard time watching it because they're really scared of horror films. But every time they're always like, Lauren, I'm watching it for you, but otherwise,
I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it. Yeah.
That's cool though.
I appreciate.
Yeah, Amelia, you said your dad is a big horror movie fan. So has he watched it?
Oh yes. They watched it at the premiere. Again, a nice kind of part of that it was streaming across Canada for Fantasia, because I'm originally from Vancouver, so a lot of my family's in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Trista, another question?
I just wanted to clarify. I think Neal mentioned earlier that Lee had worked with Amelia, and I think Lauren had as well. And then Lee and Lauren met for the first time on the teaser for this a couple years back. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Lauren and I had just done, not as a kind of actor-director collaboration, but we just met on a set that we were both helping out a friend with. And then I just knew she was an actor, and I was like, do you want to come over? And, we were just shooting for a couple of hours doing this grant application. And then it kind of, went from there. But immediately she really embodied the role really well, considering the script wasn't even fully written at that point. So I had that in the back of my mind as I was writing it. And then as soon as we got the funding, I went back to her and said, hey, do you want to be in this?
Yeah, we improvised the teaser, right? You had a very strong vision of what you needed.
I think, we did some, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, that's okay. But I remember Lauren doing these incredible, totally off script improvisations that, yeah, she was just the character right away without even trying. It was really cool to watch.
I was in a very dark place in my life at that time. Maybe
so that's easy to improv as a scary woman.
Exactly.
Did that alter how you wrote the character when you did the script then?
I feel like I ended up using some of the stuff they'd improv'd in the teaser in the script. Because I think you're right. I think we didn't actually have any dialogue for the teaser. Because I was kind of going for a little bit, I liked the idea in the film that there was obviously these horror elements, but there was also some time where you're just kind of hanging out with the characters and just spending time with them and a bit less plot driven, I guess. So the scene that we did for the teaser kind of ended up being the card game scene in the film. And that scene as well, we improvised. That was the only scene in the film that we improvised. And we just like, they just played cards and we just kind of followed them around. Just to kind of create that another layer of kind of intimacy too, that we're just kind of hanging out with these characters. So yeah, that was a fun thing to do.
Earlier when you called it like a descent into madness, I thought that was a fitting thing, because it really, you know, it starts off just like a very subtle little things. Just like I thought a lot of the looks from Emily's Lauren's character, you know, you don't know, you know, there's something not right here, but you don't know exactly, you know, where it's going to go, and then, you know, things really start to amp up.
Yeah, for sure. I think like one film that's been a really big influence for me is Repulsion, because it has that kind of thing, and it's very much from like one character's perspective, and that's definitely a descent into madness film, and you're only in her apartment too. So I think that was definitely something I've drawn on in terms of structure. And
for Lee's character, you know, it's like the paranoia builds up. And what's that like to play, you know, the arc of that? Because you start, you know, fairly, you know, pretty normal, and then by the end you're totally different. But in the middle, I always think that would be the harder part, where it's just a little bit of paranoia.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that came together when Amelia was editing with Matthias, because
that's not fair, Lee. You're like, we had to have stuff from you.
I mean, like, as an actor, like, you just try stuff, and you try to, you're the character, and you live the moment as the character. And there's some takes that are, I think, gonna really nail it, and then there's other takes that might be really cool on their own, but then don't fit into the puzzle piece that is the story. So I think especially in a film like this, where the dialogue is really minimal, the cast is so stripped back, like everything is it's so intense because of the way it's all been layered on top of itself. And that to me really comes out of the editing process. Like, sure, I worked hard, but it, like, you know, if a different editor had taken different takes, like, it would have been a completely different movie, I think. You know, that's just me.
I agree.
Yeah. I think not enough credit is given to the post-production process, honestly. Like, not to I mean, good actors work hard, and we care, and we really try and make the movie amazing, but so much can change between the end of the shoot and the premiere. Like, if you don't have someone really talented overseeing everything like Amelia, and making those creative decisions and having those creative conversations with the people who are cutting everything together, coming up with the color, coming up with the ambient, like, sound, like, that all makes, especially in this kind of film, it's, you know, it's, the house is its own character. And that really came out from production design, and then also the layering of all those elements in post. So yeah, I think it's such a collaborative process. You don't get that tension without so many people playing a role.
Was it hard to find the right house?
Yes, it was very hard. I was surprised, because you'd think, you know, in a cabin in the woods in Canada, there's lots of that kind of thing here.
You're cutting out a little bit, Lee.
Is that me?
Oh, everyone's fine on my end.
I think Lauren might have froze.
Maybe Lauren is. I think Lauren's froze.
She's
I thought she was just very
really
still
hot
there for
and
a minute,
intense
but I
stare.
I know.
I'm glad it's a good still, you know, because
yeah.
sometimes you freeze and you're like, eh. But she looks very hot and cool. So
Yeah.
she'll be back with us when she gets internet again.
Usually it's me. That's because my internet is terrible. So usually I'm the one who's like stuttering. So it's like, oh, is it me? Yeah, it was difficult to find the location. A big part of that was also the fact that we didn't have the budget to bring a lot of stuff into the location. So we really needed somewhere that was going to have a lot that we could work within it already. And so that took a long time. I think that was the hardest part, was finding somewhere that was just like ready to go. You know, and you don't want somewhere super tiny either. The cabin was really, really small. Like, we couldn't have fit more than what our crew was in there, and we were jam-packed. It was like 15 people. But that place had so much atmosphere, and like, even just like, I had stayed at the cabin for budget reasons, so I was living there while we were shooting, which was a weird experience. But like, it has both this very like warm, it's a beautiful place, but it's also super creepy at times too. So it really fit everything nicely.
Trista, you have another question?
If you guys are horror fans yourselves, love to know some of your favorite horror movies.
Okay, I'll go. I would say like I like a lot of the classic horrors like The Shining and like a lot of, I don't know, like The Birds and Psycho and those like older just classic horror films. I feel like those really resonate with me. I feel like I could have been in Psycho back in the day. Like that would have been like a dream role for me. And recently, I actually just watched A Clockwork Orange for the first time the other night, and just like movies like that that are very just kind of off-putting and bizarre really strike a chord with me. So I think, you know, just films that are a bit different, which I think is also another reason why I was kind of drawn to this film, because it felt very different to me when I read the script. And I remember the first time seeing it, thinking afterwards, like, I can't really think of a film, like one film that I would say this is similar to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and that's really appealing to me. Yeah.
And it's hard to find unique films today, I think.
Totally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How about Lee, your favorite horror movies?
I'm bad with favorites. I always blank on a favorite, but I can tell you some things I've watched recently that I really love. I'm just a big fan of Jordan Peele. I love that he makes stories that are so psychologically engaging and also have like such a strong social commentary, and that are so creative. Like they're concepts that I'm in awe of how his brain works. And then the other thing I really love watching when it came out, and now I'm in season 2, is The Haunting of Hill House, the series on Netflix. So it's Bly Manor now, I think, right? But I'm on episode 2 of that. Don't tell me how it ends. I hope so. But I love counting the ghosts in that. Like I'm such a fool. I didn't notice that in season 1. And then I was reading about it, that there were like sort of ghosts hidden in all of the scenes. And it was so cool to go back and watch that. So I'm watching season 2 with like my eagle eyes on, so I don't miss anything.
Yeah. Amelia, your favorites?
Yeah, it's a big question. I feel like a lot of the classics as well, like The Shining has always been one of my favorite films, like in general. And Rosemary's Baby and Repulsion are 2 really great films. One film that I love as well is The Wicker Man, the original, obviously. And actually,
Not the bees.
No, I know. I haven't actually seen that one. I should probably
really?
check it out. But and actually, the main character in this film is called Rowan because of The Wicker Man.
Okay.
That's
a new piece of trivia.
I know. I keep being like, I got to bring that out in interviews.
Yeah. You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
You thought we knew everything about this movie.
Yeah. Because that's just been like a really favorite film of mine, and I love that name in that film. So it's it'd be kind of cool to use it, steal it. And then for more recent films, like a big film that was influence for me for this as well was The Invitation by Karin Kusuma. I really liked that when I saw it at Fantasia like a couple of years ago. It just like really stood out and has stuck with me ever since, in terms of that kind of paranoid feeling. And then things like It Follows has been like a really big favorite of mine of past years, and Us as well. Yeah, so many good films.
Is The Invitation on with Jason Bateman?
No, that's The Gift.
The Gift.
The Invitation doesn't have any like super well-known actors. It's on Netflix though. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it's really good.
Anyone watching. And Lauren watching.
Very good. Lauren, go watch it right now.
Go.
I don't, not to self-promote too much, but I believe we're the only podcast interview with Robin Hardy, the director of the original Wicker Man.
Oh, no way.
Wow.
When we had him on, he didn't know what a podcast was, and I had to go talk him into doing it. And unfortunately, he passed away not long after, so I think it's his only one.
I should listen to that episode then.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was in the works for the 3rd one, but it never got finished, unfortunately.
No, it's a film that's very good to revisit that film, and the soundtrack is amazing, and there's just so many great moments.
I agree. How about Eris? I don't know, is that how you pronounce the name? Eris, who plays Brendan in the movie?
Oh, Ari.
Ari.
Yeah.
I got it wrong every day.
All right.
He's
I don't feel
very
so bad now.
patient.
Yeah.
He's a very patient man. What a lovely
Yeah.
person. We all screwed up his name the first time, and he
Oh my
was
God.
very nice about it.
How did he get involved? Was he someone you worked with before?
No, he was actually the only person that we had an open casting call for. Just because, yeah, like Lee and Lauren were already involved. Yeah, it was a pretty like kind of normal casting process, but I think that what stood out for me about him was that he had a kind of genuineness to him as an individual, but I think that like translated to the character really nicely. And I think Brendan's, there's like definitely less time spent on his character in the film. And definitely when we were shooting, there was some times where we just like everyone would kind of get a close up except for him because there wasn't enough time, and that just wasn't what most of the scenes were about. And his character was more kind of meant to be a foil for, Rowan and Emily's character, to kind of see things bounced off of him more so. But yeah, he's amazing to work with. I think one thing I was not like worried about, but especially since it's such a small cast, I really wanted everyone to get along really well, and like the three of them be very, happy together. And I feel like that was really, I think there was pretty instant chemistry and stuff between all of them, which really helps when you're on a small shoot. Just like they were really great to work with.
Yeah, you three characters, they have to, all work together, else the movie's not going to work.
Yeah, completely.
I really like the dialogue scene with Lauren and Lee when they're laying on the bed next to each other, because it really showed a connection between the two. Maybe not the healthiest, but it's still like you could tell that there was an actual connection between the two characters.
Yeah, totally. I think the idea was, and that scene was actually like a kind of a last minute addition before we shot, but I think the kind of irony in the film was that these women actually do have a connection and could kind of get along in a different life or something. Alas, not in this film, but I think, they both kind of love each other, but it's also kind of fucked up. So.
Yes.
Yes.
Trista, you have another question?
I'm wondering what you're all working on now.
We are, promoting this film, which is going to be a fun process. There's some exciting stuff coming up. And I think the other thing that's really exciting is that Bloodthirsty is also on its way, which is the film that Amelia directed with.
Sorry,
Lauren.
we always make you talk about it.
No, but I like saying it. It's more exciting than talking more about this film. So yeah, their film, Bloodthirsty, is also doing. I mean, it's crazy that they both have 2 feature films out this year. That's wild. So you should definitely support that. Can we announce the other thing that's coming up? I think it's out. I'm going to say it. It's both films are going to be at Blood in the Snow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, can't remember if I can say this. It's totally official. So both of them are going to be at Blood in the Snow, and I'm sure
which will be geolocked to Canada, unfortunately, though.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's not in the States. Yeah, just
there'll be more stuff in the
Canada,
States soon. Yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming up for this project.
That's very cool. There's still a festival run going on for Bleed With Me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it just started. I mean, it premiered in August, so we have some European shows coming up, and like it's still active. There's lots still in the pipeline for sure.
I don't know if you know yet, but do you know where it's going to go after the festival run?
We cannot say yet.
Release or on demand.
We're not sure. It's still kind of up in the air.
Right.
But if you go to the website, which is bleedwithmefilm.com, that's where we kind of post any like announcements and stuff. So any new screenings that are happening, screenings, virtual screenings, will all be posted on the website, and all the social media is the same thing, Bleed With Me Film. So if you are interested in checking it out, that's usually where we post announcements and stuff. So yeah, there'll be a few more festivals, and then there'll be a release. We just don't know the details yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw I played Salem recently. I'm in Massachusetts, so.
Oh yeah. No, that was like a really awesome festival too.
Mm.
They did a great job with the online, the online thing, and we all watched a film together called The Strings.
Wow, that was cool.
We not together. We were on
Yeah.
Zoom. It was a hilarious
Virtually,
like,
yeah.
It was just like us in the dark, kind of like blurry figures in the background, and then we like press play at the same time. So The Strings was great. It's another Canadian.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that film. I think it's next playing at the Frightening Ass Film Festival in Chattanooga. So if you're gonna go to that, I would check out that movie.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Very cool. I will check that out. And Trista, another question?
Amelia, are you the only one who stayed at the cabin?
No, I stayed with the DP, Renee Arsenault, and then Dominic Katerina, who was the sound person, who's also my boyfriend. So it kind of worked out that way. We could share a bed for like, because there was not very much space in that cabin.
Right.
I think it's cool that Renee, who's the cinematographer, he stayed in my character's bedroom, like in my character's bed. And it's pretty cool because there's a lot, I don't know, I just found it so meta because there's a lot of point of view shots where it's a, you know, we would like be on top of each other because he's trying to get the shot from my eyes, right? And it just felt like he was also Rowan sometimes because he was staying in my bedroom and being me, and I loved it. It was so fun. He's a great guy.
You mentioned before about, you know, being a small area, and is that technically difficult to do to get all the shots
in the
being
cabin?
in the cabin? Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I was mainly worried about was just like it getting kind of boring as a location since we weren't going anywhere else. And so the DP and I would work a lot to kind of keep change shots as much as possible and try to show like different parts of the cabin. And the bathroom actually is a completely different location. So we shot that in Montreal because the bathroom that was in the cabin didn't have a shower. So we couldn't do the bloody shower scene. So by the end of the film, you've basically seen every single corner of that cabin, and there's nowhere for the bathroom to be. Like, it doesn't really make sense. But that's the joy of cinema, is like people hopefully aren't thinking about that.
Right.
And you don't know, because when you're not there, it's a completely different feeling. But yeah, we definitely shot every single corner of that place because it was definitely small.
I feel like another thing that people don't realize about like indie low budget sets is that, you know, you'll make the shot look beautiful, but then every other place on location behind the camera is just like full of gear and
like an explosion.
garbage. And yeah, it's like an explosion of stuff. So like when we weren't in Rowan's room, like it was just like boxes of, you know, gear. So it's funny when you see it all pieced together because it looks like this tranquil cabin in the woods, but in reality it was pandemonium in the best way, like really fun, but lots of chaos behind the camera.
Yeah, it was also hard to get the gear up the hill because like the cabin was at the top of the hill, so they had like an electric or a motorized sled, a winch, to get all the gear up. And I had an injury at the time. I was in a cast. So they also used that to get me up and down the hill every day. So that was interesting.
It was definitely a tough location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay now?
Oh yeah.
All right. We don't need a winch anymore.
Yeah.
I know, because you're still in the cabin, so just making sure.
Yeah.
We never winched her back. We just
I was like, guys. Okay.
You just dropped something, but I think it's all right. Trista, another question?
Would you consider making a sequel?
Ooh.
I don't think so. I feel like the story is.
It would be a ghost story.
Come to
right?
its end.
Oh, spoiler. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if this is the film to do that with, but I think the characters are done.
I could not be dead and then come to life and do the same thing to Brendan.
There we go.
There you go.
Or we follow Brendan.
Yeah.
And he's trying to avenge your death.
Yeah.
He's trying to track down Rowan.
Yeah.
That's kind
Rowan's on the lam.
Kind of like Psycho, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the website. Where else can people follow, you know, each of you individually to see what you're up to?
Yeah.
If you want them to.
for anything to do with the film, like I said, it's for social media, it's Bleed With Me Film. And then, yeah, I guess the main thing I post about for film stuff would be my Twitter, which is Amelia D. Moses. So follow me there.
All right. Lauren, where can people follow you if you want them to?
I mainly use Instagram the most, I guess. So it's at LaurenLynn19.
And Lee.
I don't know what I think my handle's like lee.marsh.all now. I keep changing it. Just go to Bleed With Me Film, and that's more important.
Yeah. And
you can find me if you really want to find me. Just Google me.
Fair enough. Well, we both really liked the movie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It means a lot.
And I hope people check it out at the festivals and beyond. But yeah, there's all kinds of festivals happening, and you can't be with people, but it's still fun to watch online with people, and there's a level of interaction with the virtual festivals.
Completely, yeah. People are still interacting a lot online, which is really cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah, that's the main thing I miss about right now are our festivals in the theater.
Yeah, and going to the bar afterwards.
I don't drink.
Ooh, going to the bar.
Yeah,
wow.
and talking with people. That's
wow.
what I miss.
Definitely, yeah. I consider that all part of the festival. So
Yeah, completely. It's pretty nice to connect with people that way, but soon enough, I hope.
Yeah,
that will be back on the table.
All right, very good. And I look forward to seeing more stuff from you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.